You're listening to the Fierce Fatty Podcast, episode 26. In today's episode, we're talking about can you be a vegetarian or vegan and also be an intuitive eater? Who knows? Let's do it.
Perfect.
You're listening to the Fierce Fatty Podcast. I'm Victoria Wellesby, TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and fat activist. I have transformed my life from hating my body with desperately low self-esteem to being a courageous and confident fierce fatty who loves every inch of this jelly. Society teaches us living in a fat body is bad, but what if we spent less time, money, and energy on the pursuit of thinness and instead focused on the things that actually matter, like if pineapple on pizza should be outlawed, or if the mullet was the greatest haircut of the 20th century. So, how do you stop negative beliefs about your fat body controlling your life? It's the Fierce Fatty Podcast. Let's begin. Hello. Welcome to another episode. I'm so pleased you're here. Thank you for tuning in. Hey, guess what? This this self-isolating fatty cut her hair this morning. Yeah, I cut my hair with, what are they called? Buzzing razor, trimmer, those things. God, why can't I think of the word? And I think I did a pretty good job. I watched a couple of videos on the internet webs for guys cutting their hair and a couple of hairdressers saying how to do it. And I just did it. And it doesn't look horrendous. There are so many little bits that I can see. I'm like, that shouldn't be there. And the more I look at it, I'm like, yeah, there's long bits here and here and there. I might give it another go over. But yeah, you're not going to hear me complaining about having wacky hair anymore because I cut it. I'm so proud of myself, but I have such deep respect for hairdressers because, yeah, they make it look so easy to make your hair not look like a big bag of dog shit. So, yeah, I can't wait to go back and see my hairdresser to fix this whenever we're allowed out again. So, hey, did you know? I've told you before, but did you know? A reminder that you can ask a question for me to answer on the show. So if you have a question about anything to do with loving your fat body, stopping dieting, intuitive eating, being a fabulous power bitch, boss, whatever, then go on over to the show notes. The show notes are fiercefatty.com for this show, fiercefatty.com/026 because we're episode 26. But any of the show notes, which will be fiercefatty.com/podcast, has a link for you to ask a question, and it can be anonymous or not. And yeah, just go on over, fatty, go and ask a question. I will really like it. Yeah, so I'm going to stop singing. Who was that? Come on over, fatty. Shania Twain? Was it? Who knows? So today we're talking about intuitive eating and vegetarianism/veganism. And I've got a workbook that is going to help you out if you are at all struggling with intuitive eating. There's a workbook in the show notes. It's why intuitive eating isn't working for you. And this is one of my workbooks that a lot of people like and get a lot of clarity from. Absolutely free. Go download it in the show notes. Why intuitive eating isn't working for you. Okay, so let's answer this question. And I've had this question a good few times people wanting me to answer this, and I did a short video about it maybe 18 months ago, but I want to expand on it here for you. So, disclosure, I am a smelly vegetarian. Yes, I am a vegetarian. Now, don't let the fact that I'm a vegetarian, sway you or influence you about what we're going to be talking about today. Okay, I'll get into more about what I'm talking about there, but this is important for me to say that I am one of those vegetarians that we're talking about. So my experience is I've always been super sensitive about animals and suffering and things like that. Don't worry, I'm not going to go into some morality thing about why you should be a vegetarian. No, that is not what this is. But anyway, I would always be kind of thinking a lot about meat and stuff. And so as a child, I tried to be a vegetarian. I lasted for probably a week, being a poor family and no vegetarians in sight. It was not going to happen. It was not going to work. There was no way that I knew how to eat as a vegetarian. So Bernard Matthews turkey slices is what lured me back into eating meat at that point. But it was always in the back of my mind of I am a bit weird about meat. Anyway, when I say I was a bit weird, like I would gravitate towards eating a steak versus a hamburger, because I'd be like, well, the steak I can see the meat, and a hamburger I can't necessarily see it, and I didn't necessarily desire meat as much as the average person out there, and so just because I say that I am sensitive about animals and their feelings and that type of stuff doesn't mean that I don't think meat eaters are also sensitive towards that. Absolutely, you can love animals and be a meat eater and think about them and hope that they have nice lives and all that type of stuff. And you don't have to be a vegetarian to also feel like that. I know a lot of vegetarians or vegans are like, well, you can't love animals if you eat them. And no, I don't believe that. I think that is a bullshit. Of course you can love animals and also eat them. But we're not talking about the morality of eating meat or not eating meat. We're talking about is it disordered? Is it something you can do while being an intuitive eater? So I became a vegetarian again. I can't really remember when, like 6-8 years ago. It's been a while. I watched a documentary and it turned me vegan, and I couldn't. Being vegan was too difficult for me because I love cheese, I love yogurt, I love milk, I like having milk and tea, and all the alternatives just wasn't cutting it for me. And so I became a vegetarian. And I have been happily vegetarian ever since. And so when I started learning about intuitive eating, I was like, well, can I still be a vegetarian? I don't know. Because this documentary that I watched, it wasn't about if you become a vegetarian or vegan, you'll become healthier. It was more about an experiment of, can you do it, and is it enjoyable, and do you feel deprived, that type of thing. But also I think at the end of it, they weighed the people or whatever. And so in part, my vegetarianism probably was influenced by believing that maybe I would become thinner. Maybe. I can't remember feeling like that at all, but 8 years ago, say if I watched this documentary 8 years ago, I was still in diet land, and so I can imagine thinking probably in the back of my mind of, oh, maybe I'll get thin. But honestly, my driver was not my big driver, because if it was, and because that didn't happen. I stayed fat. If it was a driver, then I probably wouldn't be a vegetarian still, right? Because it didn't make me thin. And so, what I'm saying is that my driver for being a vegetarian is that I just have a preference for not eating meat. But my vegetarianism, I've really questioned it, and I've really gone into, is this disordered in any way? Because a lot of people who have any type of restriction, any type of way of eating, a lot of it is informed by diet culture. And a lot of it stems from wanting a smaller body, believing having a smaller body will make them more healthy. Of course, not everyone who has any type of restrictive diet. And a lot of times people might have a restrictive diet because they need to for whatever reason. And sometimes it is just an excuse for engaging in disordered eating or even an eating disorder. You cannot know someone's reasonings and beliefs just if they have like a label. But say if someone's like a vegan and a raw vegan and doesn't eat, like counts macros or doesn't eat gluten, and it kind of becomes more and more like, is this like, what is going on here? And so it becomes even more something that you need to look into. So here is an example about how I knew that intuitive eating and, for me, vegetarianism worked. So when one time I went to Ireland and I became really sick. I got gastroenteritis, and for what felt like forever was shitting my pants, was throwing up. I couldn't even have a sip of water because I would just immediately throw up. I was really sick. And after days of this, lying on my sister's couch, it was a Sunday and she was cooking Sunday dinner. And I was coming out of this sickness and I could smell the chicken cooking. And my body, my brain just said, you need some chicken. And I just knew it. I just knew. My body was like, whatever is in that chicken that you can remember that is in the chicken, and she was cooking other things like vegetables and things like that, you need it. And so I said, okay, body, you've asked for chicken. And previously my body had not said, I really want some meat. It just doesn't happen for me. And so I said, okay, body, I'm going to listen to you. You've asked for some chicken. Go get some chicken. And so I went into the kitchen and I said to my sister, can I have some chicken? She's like, oh yeah, sure. And I had some chicken and I could feel this, I don't know, like it felt like magic was just being restored to my body. And, any food probably would have been amazing because I hadn't eaten in days. But my body was telling me that chicken was what I needed in that moment. And so I had the chicken. It felt good. I think I had, I just had a little bit because, I wasn't feeling that great. And then later I think I had a little bit more. And before I ate it, I was like, thank you, chicken, for letting me eat you, sort of thing. Kind of thought about the chicken and then just ate the chicken. Now, I listened to what my body needed and I didn't deny myself in that moment. If I had said, no, you can't have chicken because you're a vegetarian, and if you eat chicken, then you're a bad person, or whatever label that, someone might put on eating meat if you're a vegetarian. I just listened to my body. And the reason why, for me, you can be an intuitive eater, I can be an intuitive eater, is I'm never thinking, I really want a steak, or I really want a chicken nugget, or I really want, whatever it is. I just don't think like that. I'm just not that bothered or interested. And you know how some whatever our tastes, like some people love one type of food and other people just not bothered. Like, so for me, ice cream, how people are like, oh, I sit and I eat like a tub of ice cream and stuff, and I'm just like, I'm just not interested. I've never done that, just because ice cream doesn't really do it for me. And ice cream's great, like I taste it and I'm like, yeah, that's great, but I can take it or leave it. And the same with croissants. And a lot of people are like, oh, croissant's so good. And I'm just like, meh, whatever. And someone else might think about something that I absolutely love. And it's just personal taste, right? And so that's how I feel about meat. And I'm not that bothered. I also am thinking, if there is an alternative where an animal isn't hurt, then that alternative is just as good. I'll just have that. It's just not that much, not a big deal. But of course, sometimes it is annoying and frustrating being a vegetarian. So I'm in Ireland at the moment. In rural Ireland, they actually do quite well for vegetarian food. Just down at a local store, they have a couple of things which is mind-blowing to me. But if you go out to eat in a restaurant, the vegetarian food will be pretty much either goat's cheese tart, which when I first got here I was like, oh, goat's cheese tart, oh, very nice, but every fucking where it's goat's cheese tart, or pasta or something like that. And for me, pasta is so fucking boring. I only ever eat pasta, any type of pasta, just to feed myself. Like, it's not anything that I ever desire or want. I know it's controversial, who doesn't like pasta, but for me it's boring. Right? And so it's like preferences. So does that mean that everyone can be a vegetarian or a vegan and they can also do intuitive eating? No. Maybe, it's an individual thing. What is the intention behind it? I mean, you could have started being a vegan or vegetarian and it came from a very disordered place. But now, if you've healed your relationship with food, it could be something totally different. Only you know the answer to that question. So are you eating in whatever way it is, outside of, vegetarian, veganism, whatever it is, are you eating that way because you want to lose weight, or because, you want to manipulate your body size or how your body looks in some way? Are you doing it because of guilt? Because of negative emotions? Are you doing it because that's just the way that you've always eaten? Say if a part of your religion is you don't eat pork, for example. It could just not even be a thing. You could just be like, I'm not interested in pork. But say if a part of your religion is to not eat pork, but you're actually really curious about pork and you want to eat pork, and you're feeling guilty about it and feeling weird feelings around that, then maybe you should eat pork or whatever it is. And so if you are currently not eating meat or whatever it is that you're not doing, is there room for you to experiment with it? Is there room for you to say, I give myself permission for me to listen to my body? And if my body says, I want this, then can you play around with that and just allow yourself whatever it is you want? And the big thing about intuitive eating is allowing yourself anything you want. And a lot of people might say, well, but what about the animals? Yes, me being a vegetarian, yes, I totally get that. But also, what about your mental health? What about your mental health and your relationship with food? And you're going to be alive for a long time. And if you have a disordered relationship with food, it is going to have such a dramatic effect on your life. So what can you do to relax around that? So another way that I'm more relaxed about vegetarianism is like miso soup. Miso soup has I can't remember what it is. I think it's a fish sauce, And I'm not interested in fish either, but I just don't eat fish. I would never really liked fish. And I don't care. Like, I'll have miso, and I will have candy if there's like some gummy thing and that will have gelatin in. I'm just not that strict about it. I'm just relaxed about it. And some other people, not saying like some other people, if you are a vegetarian, you might say, no, I'm not into having miso or whatever if it has like trace elements of animal products in it. And if that comes from a place of not feeling disorder, not feeling anxiety around it, not feeling stress around it, not feeling restriction, then that's absolutely fine too. Only you know the motivation behind it. So, massive disclaimer here is that I don't think that other people should be vegetarian or not vegetarian, or vegan or not vegan. Not that I don't care if you eat meat. It's not my place or anyone else's place to say you should eat in a certain way because of my beliefs. So a lot of times when I have dinner with friends, or say if I go on a date and I say I'm a vegetarian, and if they order meat, they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, I don't fucking care. Like, enjoy your food. Eat as much meat as you want. Like, go wild. Really, it's got nothing to do with me. And I do not at all judge you for a millisecond if you eat meat. And if you are a vegetarian and you are judging others because they eat meat, then I want you to challenge that, because it's super classist. It's racist. It's elitist. And a lot of people are like, well, you don't have to be rich to be a vegetarian. You can, get all these staples and things from the store. And I'd say, yeah, technically, but if you're low income, you're not going to go to your corner store and find a plethora of vegetables and all the different types of vegetarian food that there could be. There's probably no vegetarian meat alternative, and if it is, it's probably one of those nasty veggie burgers that are just vegetables. I hate those. And as well, think about First Nation communities who only eat meat, who can't grow vegetables because the climate doesn't allow for it, and they might be cut off from getting different types of foods, and it's just a part of their culture, and it has been for years, for them to be really reliant on meat. And so if you're like, listen, you're bad because you eat meat, well, what are they gonna do? Die? Starve? And a lot of it. So I used to work for an organic food company, and organic is bullshit, by the way, if you didn't know that. But even the organic food company, they were like, well, organic is not really whatever, but rich people want to buy organic, so we're going to give them organic food. And before that, I was like, I didn't really know much about organic, but then I was like, oh damn, it's just for the rich people. A lot of the times, more affluent, white, middle class people will eat in a certain way, being like, oh, organic, all this type of stuff, raw and all that type of stuff, because it makes them feel morally superior. Is the way that you are eating making you feel superior to others that don't eat like you? If it is, I encourage you to question that. I really do. And yes, it's, I would like animal suffering to end. That would be great for me. But also, human suffering is tremendous around food too. And it's just not possible for a lot of people to be a vegetarian. And anyway, being a vegetarian doesn't mean that you're a better person. It doesn't mean that you're going to go to heaven and God is going to be there and be like, you're one of those vegetarians. Oh my God, jump to the front of the queue. A lot of vegetarians and vegans and people who have any type of way of eating do a lot of harm when they make other people feel guilty for not eating in the way that they have decided is the best way to eat. In my TEDx talk, I actually made a joke about vegans. And the joke was, I was saying, follow people that don't make you feel good. And I said, unfollow vegans. Like, doesn't sound funny now. in the TEDx talk, it was a joke, and it got the biggest laugh there. And the reason why it got the biggest laugh when I said unfollow all vegans is because the perception of vegans and vegetarians, not as much, but is that they are militant, that they are angry, that they are judgmental, that there's not a lot of positivity around veganism and flexibility and understanding of the social issues in regards to why people eat the way they eat. And the way that people that eat is perfect. It's fine. It's, we in the best way that we can. And I got a lot of shit from vegans. Like, any criticism about my TEDx talk is always, well, she says that you should unfollow vegans. And actually, if you're a vegan, maybe if she was a vegan, then she wouldn't be so fat. And why do you have to hate on vegans? Like, you're hurting animals. And yes, I get it. But the joke that vegans are really uptight and stuff, and then messaging me saying, hey, no, don't talk shit about vegans, is kind of, well, this is what we're talking about. And so I'm all for you being vegan or vegetarian and it being something that is wonderful in your life and positive. But if you make others feel guilty for not eating the way that you're eating, then it's something that needs to be reassessed. So, one of my most favorite people to follow on Instagram is actually a vegan account. So, it was literally a joke about not following vegans because I follow vegans. Because this one vegan account is a Vancouverite vegan, and I've met her before, and her stories are her making vegan dinners for her and her family. And I enjoy it. But I have pretty much only one time have I ever made any recipe that she has shown. And it's because it's really fucking hard. And she says, it's so easy. It's so easy. You can feed your family and feed them vegan, and it's so easy. And all you need to do is make your own oat flour and blend cashews and saute this and all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, no fucking way. I am not doing that. And so for me, if vegetarianism was hard, then I wouldn't be doing it. Because the way that I eat vegetarian is I will just eat the same way I ate before as a meat eater, but I have like meat substitutes and make things as easily as possible. And I'm not fucking blending cashews. It's cool if someone else wants to do that. It's cool if someone wants to do that and give it to me. That's cool. But I'm not doing this whole palaver of every single night she's cooking and every lunch doing all these different things. And I'm just like, oh my God, no. I still like watching it though, because it's interesting to see what you can do. But, but for me, I'm like, no. And another thing, if you are a meat eater or whatever you are you in any way saying that certain types of meats are better than others? So saying a hot dog or chicken nuggets, they're the devil's food because that's just like disgusting reclaimed meat and things like that. That's not the best way to go, because a lot of times those meats are affordable. It doesn't mean that they are bad. that they have no nutritional value, that they do not feed people, because they do, and they're great, and they're perfect for the people who like them, and they're a part of their life. Just because you're getting, farm raised, free range, massaged, beef from Japan. What is that called? Wagyu, whatever. There's fancy like beef that's massaged. Anyway, that doesn't mean that it's better or you're a better person because you get that meat. It doesn't mean ethical meat is better than a hot dog or a chicken nugget or whatever it is. Just be careful about the way that you're relating to the food that you're eating in regards to feeling morally superior because you eat in a certain way. And that's the reason why I don't really talk about me being a vegetarian. I think I've mentioned it once before on the podcast, because I don't want anyone to think that I think that they are bad because they eat meat. Like, no, eat meat. It's delicious. It's great. It's nutritious and wonderful. Eat it, and eat dairy, and eat yogurts and cheese and anything that you want to eat that brings you joy. And if you eat in another way and that's joyful for you too, do that. So that's I'm always hesitant about telling people that I'm a vegetarian because I don't want them to think that I'm like, how dare you eat meat in front of me? You're a animal murderer. You hate animals, and all of these other things that are why vegetarians have got a bad rap. So in answer to that question, can you be a vegetarian and or vegan and also be an intuitive eater? Maybe. Really, you need to explore what is going on with you when you are choosing to not eat meat or animal products. What is your brain saying? Is your brain happy? Is your brain guilty? Is your brain longing for meat? Are you, at a restaurant and looking over at the person next door to you who's got a lobster and being like, oh my God, I really want that, but I shouldn't. If there's any type of like, oh, I shouldn't, and I want that, and but I think if I eat meat, then I might put on weight, then they're really good clues that maybe vegetarianism or veganism isn't right for you at this moment. Now you can temporarily eat meat, heal your relationship, and then decide, actually, I want to try again and try this way of eating and see if it fits in with me now. And it could do and it could not. So just be curious and be flexible, and don't shame others for the way that you eat. But I know you all won't, because you're fierce fatties and you don't shame others for the way that they eat. It's just the other people who might be listening in the background. Don't you be shaming people. The people in the background, don't you be shaming people. So maybe be curious, and that goes for any other type of eating. A lot of times people might eat in a way, like say they can't have gluten, and it's tricky. So I have IBS, and I there are some things that I think trigger my IBS, and so I have to decide: am I going to have that thing that I desire, or am I going to not experience the symptoms? And sometimes I decide to not have the thing, but other times I decide that having the thing is more important for my mental health and for my relationship with that food, and so I will weather the consequences. And that goes for anything. Like if you can't eat any type of food, you're in charge of deciding, do I want to handle the consequences, or do I want to allow myself the food? So it's a juggling act between potentially your physical health and your mental health, and there's no right or wrong answer. You're in charge of that, right? And I can't tell you what to do because everyone is individual, and I'm not a doctor, and I'm not the boss of you. It's all about you and how you feel and what you want, and what you're willing to put up with in regards to denying yourself a food or allowing yourself it and maybe experiencing symptoms. So say if you were to eat something and the result is that you automatically die, then maybe you're going to have to deny yourself that food. Like, I was watching Breaking Bad, and you can make ricin out of beans. Like, ricin is a poison. You probably can't do, average Joe can't do it at home, so don't worry if you eat beans, you're not going to die. But if you were like, I really fancy some ricin today, I'm really drawn to some ricin, I would advise maybe don't have the ricin, because you will probably die, most definitely die. And so, be realistic. Like, I saw someone, a review on Christy Harrison's podcast. Someone wrote, she said that you should eat food even if it makes you sick, and she's killing people because what if you decide you want to eat poison and then you're going to die? And I'm like, there's a bit hyperbole there. She's not saying you should eat poison and die and then, but who cares about the consequences? So just an FYI, don't kill yourself with eating poison. Should be pretty obvious, but just in case there's that one person who is, ready to write a review being like, she told us to eat poison. No, I'm telling you to avoid eating poison. But a lot of times these foods that, if they do have a consequence for your body, it's normally something minor, right? It might be like some acid reflux, or it might just be, for me, I might just have an ache in my belly. And so it's not like I'm deciding to really damage myself in order to eat that food, right? You know what's best for you, but just FYI, a little side tangent on that. Hey, if you want more help with intuitive eating, then go to the show notes, fiercefatty.com/026, and get that workbook, Why Intuitive Eating Isn't Working for You. Some really great prompts in there. And hey, I want to share with you my 3 favorite Chrome extensions, Google Chrome extensions that make my life better. Because I tell people about this all the time. I'm like, do you not have this extension on your browser? Oh my God, you so need it. Okay, so listen up here. If you have a computer and you have Google Chrome, then I'm telling you, these extensions are really good. So the first extension, if you, I'm just so excited for you. If you haven't heard of this first extension, it's called Honey. Like bee honey. I'll link to it in the show notes. Honey Chrome extension. And what Honey does is that every time you go to a checkout on your computer, you've got Honey in the browser, you go to the checkout and it says, it'll be like, do you have a coupon code or anything like that? Honey automatically pops up and scans the internet for any coupon codes that other people have used at that site that work. And I'd say 80% of the time that I buy something online, Honey will get me 5, 10, 15. It's even been like $50 off depending on the size of the order. Like sometimes massive discounts. And this is free. This isn't a Chrome extension that's free. None of these cost money. And so every time I'm like getting to the checkout being like, oh, how much is it going to cost? When Honey is going to pop up, and it just does it automatically. You don't even have to think about it. And when you're not doing online shopping, you don't even notice it's on your browser. So Honey, you gotta get it. That's the first one. Next one is Grammarly. And Grammarly, there's a paid version, but I don't need that. Grammarly really helps with spelling, because like if you're in email, or if you're on Facebook on your computer or something like that, there's no spell check, right? And so Grammarly has picked up so many of my mistakes and made things way better and made me look way smarter when I'm just, when you can't spell a word and it's so bad that even the spell check is like, what the fuck is this? So Grammarly will help you with things like that. Another one I just got is called Video Speed Controller. And so on anywhere that you're watching a video, Netflix, YouTube, anywhere, there's a little thing in the corner of the video for you to be able to speed it up or slow it down. And so how some people, they might not get to the point, or you need to for some reason watch a video and the person is rambling on and you just want to get the information, but you don't want to have to listen to an hour of dribble. Then you can just do the video speed up, and then for them to be like, and you can still hear it and stuff, the same way that you might do with podcasts. So so Video Speed Controller, Grammarly, and Honey. Honey's, if you get none of them, Honey, I tell you what, you are going to be thanking me when you get to, doing any of your online shopping anywhere, and Honey pops up and is like, listen up here now, I'm going to save you $15. You're like, oh, thanks, Honey. And sometimes there is no saving, like there is no, but at least that you've got the best price. So, reminder, ask questions for the show, and if the question's good, then I will answer it on the show for you, so you get direct access to me for free. Oh my god, dreams come true. If you want to see my haircut, I have a haircut video. I actually did a video of me cutting my hair, so I'll link that in the show notes too. Show notes are fiercefatty.com/026, was episode 26. Hope you are handling the COVID-19 all right, coronavirus, quarantining. It's April 8th when I'm recording this, and there's no end in sight. And the British Prime Minister is in intensive care because he's got COVID-19. And so there's I hope you're doing okay. I hope everything's all right for you. And if it's not, then just remember, nothing ever lasts forever. So, thank you for hanging out with me. I so appreciate it. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. And if you would like to be rewarded for that review, then take a screenshot of your review and email me, victoria@fiercefatty.com. And I will send you a digital and audio version of my best-selling book, Fierce Fatty. Until the next time, my gorgeous fatty, I will see you then. Goodbye.